A truck just rammed into the largest Reform synagogue in America. 140 children were inside. An Egyptian mother and her 5 kids, the youngest just being 5 years old, have been sitting in an ICE detention center in Texas for 9 months. And this is for a crime their father committed that they knew nothing about. And in the Middle East, a US military plane just went down in Iraq. 6 crew members unaccounted for. This is day 13 of the war that nobody has given us a clean exit plan for. 3 stories, 1 episode. Every single one of them is happening right now today, March 12th, 2026. Stay with me all the way to the end because every segment of this reporting matters. 12:19 p.m. today, a driver rammed a vehicle into the Temple Israel, a major synagogue in the West Bloomfield township in Michigan, about 40 miles away from Detroit. The vehicle caught on fire after crashing through entrance doors. The suspect was found dead inside the vehicle. This is the Temple Israel's like the largest Reform synagogue in the US, serving around 3,500 families and 12,000 members. It also houses nearly every childhood learning center. All 140 students and children, staffs were safely evacuated. No children or staffs were injured in this reporting. And now the FBI has mobilized over 100 agents and analysts and multiple specialized teams. The attack is being investigated as a targeted act of violence against the Jewish community. The Oakland County Sheriff confirmed the synagogue became engulfed in flames. At least 30 law enforcement officers were taken to the hospital for smoke inhalation, and after rushing to clear the building and stuff like that. Emergency responders were found that what appeared to be explosive in the back of the vehicle. The FBI weapon of mass destruction team called to the scene. The suspect was identified as Ayman Mohammed Ghazali, a 41-year-old naturalized U.S. citizen originally from Lebanon. He rammed the vehicle through the front of the entrance, exited armed with a rifle, and was shot and killed by the synagogue security. Now, the West Bloomfield police chief has been in close contact with local religious institutions in recent weeks, specifically because of the escalating tensions tied to the war in the Middle East. The FBI had actually conducted an active shooting prevention training at Temple Israel just weeks before today's attack. So the Jewish Federation of Detroit immediately placed all Jewish organizations in the area on lockout protocol. Schools across the region went into lockdown. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer and President Trump both issued statements condemning the attack. Now, the motive is still being actively investigated. No conclusion on the motive have been confirmed just yet. But what I want you to think about is that we are 13 days into the war in the Middle East. And today, the tension showed up on American soil just like a week or so ago with the Texas shooting. So at least with children inside, what does that tell us about what the war is doing to communities right here at home, religious institutions? And we're going to jump to South Texas, right, to a detention facility about 70 miles southeast of San Antonio, because there is a story here that has been sitting in the dark and it needs to be in the light. Hayam El Gamal is an Egyptian mother. She and her 5 children, ranging from the age of 5 to 18, have been detained by the Dilley Immigration Processing Center in Texas since June of last year. That is more than 9 months. They are believed to have been the longest held family in that facility during the Trump administration. 9 months in a detention center for something their father did, right? So here's a brief background. The family was detained after the father, Mohammed Suleiman, was charged with throwing Molotov cocktails at protesters in Boulder, Colorado. He's facing over 100 charges of attempted murder, and that includes attempted murder. So Hayman and her children have consistently denied any knowledge of that attack. The 16-year-old son said they only learned what happened when they looked it up on their phones on Boulder Police Station. The father himself told investigators his family knew nothing. An immigration judge ruled the family should be released while their case proceeds, but the administration went to court to block it. So they're still there. Their 59-page declaration submitted by the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee includes a handwritten letter and drawings from the children. The 16-year-old has lost over 20 pounds. He says officers keep, the lights on and the curtains open around the clock. He wrote, "I haven't slept like a human being in 9 months. I'm so sad." Now, the letter alleges moldy food, food with visible worms, fingernails found in the bowl of the fruit. So the 5-year-old has 13 untreated dental cavities, right? And we talked about this administrations and the facilities, detention centers, how it is unlawful to keep inhumane to keep people for that long period or to keep people in those facilities. Obviously, DHS defended the facility and said the family will remain in custody pending removal proceedings. So if a judge is saying release them, the community says we'll take them, and even the father says they knew nothing, what is the justification for keeping 5 children locked up for 9 months? Now to overseas, because while all of this unfolding here today at home, a U.S. military aircraft went down in Iraq. The U.S. Air Force KC-135 Stratotanker, a military refueling aircraft, crashed in western Iraq today. CENTAM has confirmed the loss. 2 aircraft were involved in the mission. 1 went down, the other landed safely. 6 service members were on board. As of this recording, rescue efforts are ongoing and their status is unknown. Now, this KC-135 is a plane that refuels fighter jets and bombs mid-air. It is what makes long-range strikes on Iran physically possible, you can say. This is the first K-135 lost in 13 years and is the 4th manned U.S. aircraft lost since Operation Epic Fury has begun. 6 more families are waiting by their phones right now, and I have to ask you the same question I've been asking since this war started, right? We are not even 2 weeks in. 4 aircrafts down, 8 soldiers confirmed dead before this crash. What does 30 days look like? What will it look like? And now the most significant development of this week or today is that the Iran new supreme leader delivered his first official address. Well, sort of, except he didn't really, right? Another person read out Khamenei's remarks on the television with just a photography of him on the screen. He did not appear, he did not speak. A photo and someone else's voice was being played. Now, this matters because CNN reported he suffered a fractured foot and other injuries in the very first wave of this U.S.-Israeli strike that killed his father. He has not been seen publicly since being named Supreme Leader 4 days ago. So what did the statement say? The Strait of Hormuz stays closed. U.S. bases that launch strikes on Iran will keep being targeted, and Iran's condition for ending this war are reparations and firm international guarantees against future attacks. And Trump said the war will end soon because there is practically nothing left to target, in his own words, and that anytime I want to end it, it will end. Iran launched its 37th wave of retaliatory attacks the same day. So these 2 pictures do not match. Until they do, this war is going to continue. Both sides are not backing down. And now there is an oil crisis nobody can fix right now. The IEA members nations released 4 million barrels of emergency oil reserves, the largest emergency release in history. The U.S. released 172 million barrels from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, right? So oil crossed above $100 a barrel today, which we discussed a couple of days ago. The White House is now reportedly considering waiving the Jones Act, a century-old maritime law, just to keep fuel moving between American ports. So when the government is waiving a 100-year-old law to manage a domestic fuel crisis, that is not a minor disruption. That is a structural emergency. So here's everything to recap that we have spoken about on today's episode. The plane that is down in western Iraq, 6 crew members gone unaccounted for. Kuwait had 6 electricity transmission line knocked out from debris from intercepted Iranian drones. A drone struck a residential building and wounded civilians. Bahrain's interior ministry told citizens to shelter in place. Saudi intercepted drones heading towards the Sheba oil field. Iran struck a U.S.-owned crude oil tanker off Iraq's coast. A third U.S. carrier strike group, the USS George H.W. Bush, is reportedly preparing to deploy. That would make it 3 carrier strike groups in the region simultaneously. A level of naval presence that the Gulf has not seen since the Gulf War. President Trump is saying it's going to end soon. Iran says it ends on their term 13 days in, and no one in charge has given a word clear, the world any clear answer. And honestly, I don't think we're going to get any clear answer anytime soon. So, three stories all happening at the same time, all connected by the same thread. What happens to ordinary people when power makes decisions over their heads? Stay informed, keep asking questions, and share this video with someone who needs to hear what's actually happening, not just the headline. Subscribe to Voices with Anisa Qalbi. We will be back. Until next time, I leave you in the care of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Fi amanillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.